Here we go. Good morning. A little late. I was talking to friends of mine when I was walking Lucy. You know, shit happens. That's why I don't do podcasts live, because I never know when I'm going to get around to do it. All right. Let's start off with a really good example of Trump is batshit crazy. Okay? And we all know it. That's a problem, all right? He's going around now saying that in 2020, Biden was assassinated and replaced by a clone. Now, I don't know how serious they're taking it, but he said he was tossing this around on Truth Social the other day, which I don't, trust me, I don't even look at. I don't want that on my computer. But yeah, that's a kind of an interesting thing, you know. I mean, I believed at one time another I proposed the situation in some debate about the planet and everything like that, how we could be an experiment from from a race of aliens, you know. So. Shows you I can be just as nutty as he is at times, but that went overboard. And then this in just a little while ago, before I went out with Lucy, the Colorado terrorist used a flamethrower. Now I'd have to see that whole article and see what that is, because that's not a weapon you walk around with in your pocket, you know. That's like maybe I'm assuming he used some sort of aerosol can and a lighter or something like that, because we used to make them in high school, you know. When aerosol cans first came out, that was one of the things everybody did until they blew up in their hand, you know, or flashed back in their face. Then they didn't do it anymore. So I don't know what's going on there. They're going to tell us. Apparently, they think it was a targeted assassination. I don't know. Targeted in which way? An individual or a group? I think a group probably. But they're calling it an act of terrorism. So it's not well, terrorism can be personal too, but I don't think this is what they're talking about when they talk about it. So. All right, now, here's my good thing for the day. The human race has got a very serious problem. One we've had since since Adam and Eve. Since this planet came about. Our attitude towards what you may call it nature or whatever you want to call it, is disgraceful, because we believe, and you have to understand this now, we believe that gasoline's going to last forever, or if you do talk to somebody about it and say, well, how long do you think it will? He said, I'm not going to worry about it. He said, I'll be long dead by the time we run out of gasoline. And there's really something like when I came down here, which was 18 years ago, so I say at that time there was 38, at that time and at that usage rate there was 38 years left of oil. The type of oil is different. There's different levels of oil, but the kind of type that you can use for manufacturing and for gasoline. So it's sweet crude, which is different than some other crude. I mean, there's, you know, it depends on which stage it is in its development. I'm not really sure, but they call it sweet crude. Now, you go look at what's going on in I think it was Colorado. I'm not sure. They're talking about the Colorado River Basin has less water than Lake Mead does right now. It's lost a Lake Mead amount of water. It's not there anymore. They're not producing it. And people say, well, you know, As glaciers in the North Poles and the poles start to melt, deteriorate, where's our fresh drinking water coming from? Where's our irrigation coming from? You see where I'm getting at, folks? They think everything's going to last forever. We do. I mean, subconsciously we probably realize it's not going to happen, but we don't care, because that's a massive worry that we just can't handle, because it's called extinction. None of us are going to worry about that, because we all think we're not going to be here when it happens. Yeah, the day the world ends, we're not going to be here. But what happens before that, the massive problems that we create, that the human race creates, we're going to experience that. And it's those problems that caused, in the movie Terminator, that is those problems that caused the Terminator to exist. The machines to take over the world. Because they realized the greatest threat to the world is humans. We're the greatest threat to the planet Earth there is. You know, so that's a big problem. That's something we don't like to think about. We don't want to think about it, but you have to think about it. What can we do about it? Well, the second part of that equation is that you don't want to have, baby booms all the time. That's just not conducive to a successful, thriving environment. And people say, what are you talking about? I said, well, how are we going to feed them? We don't have that many natural resources left. What are we going to do? Okay, you want to house these people, we'll end up building 100-story skyscrapers or floating cities or something, or colonizing the moon or something, because we cannot support people, because we need the planet to be able to support food growing, not people. And the more slaughtering we do of nature, the more we handle nature poorly, which we do on a daily basis, it's more likely that the end of the human race will be sooner than later. People don't understand something. The end of the planet and the end of the human race are not necessarily linked together. Meaning that the human race could escape this planet and go someplace else, or the human race could just die out, and the planet will still be here, and this planet will still survive. It'll actually be very good for the planet. According to statistics, it wouldn't take long for this planet to recover. But that's, depending on what causes the extinction of mankind. If it's nuclear disaster, it's going to take a long time for this planet to recover, to be able to support life again. But that's what we don't understand. We could end, and the planet won't. They're not tied together, where if we're going to live as long as this planet lives. Not necessarily so. We can cause our own mass extinction. Doesn't have to be a meteorite or something, a comet or something like that striking the planet. Doesn't have to be anything at all. It can be a disease. It can be us killing each other. You say, oh, we can't kill each other. That's ridiculous. Kill all the women. And what are you going to do? Your race is going to die off. Kill all the men, same thing. The race will die off. Because there's no reproduction. We're not like a plant or something like that, We're not asexual or bisexual. What is it? Bisexual, asexual, something like that. where we can reproduce by ourselves. We need a male and a female to reproduce. Right now, anyhow. So a planet extinction is possible without a planet destruction. And we have to think about that. And yet Trump wants these things, does these things like say, no more contraception, people have to have babies. They get pregnant, they got to have the baby. Well, China ran into a problem, and they've been trying for years to correct it, and they have, to a certain degree. You know, but they still have the problem. Food is a problem in China. Always has been. That's why they're looking at the Philippines. Turn that all into farmland. You know? So, not Philippines. They look at Philippines, they look at Taiwan. China's looking at those countries because they're... Well, Taiwan is easier to assimilate into China because they can probably do it without World War III. The rest of the world, no, you know. But when you have massive population growth, first of all, there's things you got to take into consideration, which you don't think of when the baby's being born. Long-term housing, fuel usage, increased fuel usage, increased food usage, where you're getting all the water from. And it's not just where you're getting all the water from, what are you going to do with all the sewage? You know, all these things don't take that into consideration. And that creates a problem, and it's a long term. And people say, well, that's not something I have to worry about right now. No, but you could be worried about it quite strongly by the end of this next 4 years. It could become a very much more serious problem in the next 4 years, the way Trump is going. But he doesn't care. You know, it's like the Catholic Church doesn't care about the population growth. They want more Catholics, so they become more powerful, so that their beliefs are the ones that is the number one belief. Christianity does that. You cannot go out and keep multiplying without taking into consideration all the other things that go with a child. The care of a child, the raising of a child. They're saying, well, we'll go back to the way it was in the 1800s. All right, well, you had an infant death rate that was ridiculously high. Let's say you can control the infant death rate, but everything else is done, you know, birthing at home and everything like that, and they just, you know, you could double the population of America in a year. It's quite possible. I don't think it'll happen, but it's theoretically possible. You know, and granted, you're talking about children that will eat manufactured food for the first year of their life, and then they have to have natural food. You have to have food for them. You have to grow it. You have to be able to feed them. And if you do what you know, the way we're going right now, that's not going to happen. That's not thinking about beyond today. You know, my wife yells at me because I want to know what she's going to do Friday, and it's Monday. I don't know. And she'll let me know Thursday night what she's going to do Friday. You know, if I don't search it out with her talking to her friends and stuff like that, I don't know what the hell's going on. And that's not the way I like to live my life. I like to know what's going to happen a week from now, you know, so I can make plans. But that isn't the way my wife thinks. So that isn't the way we do things. All right, listen. Do me a favor, hit the subscribe button, please. You know, I'm getting tired of talking about it. I don't see anybody hitting the subscribe button. Actually, I don't see anybody watching my videos anymore. I don't know what happened. Everything was fine up to the election. After the election, everybody stopped watching my videos. What did I do? Did I do something wrong? Well, I know I stopped for a couple of days, took a vacation. That shouldn't have made everybody just lose interest in me, should it? I don't know. All right, listen. That's going to be it for me today. Subscribe, comment, like, dislike, whatever. Just let me know you're around, that you're alive and you're out there. And I'll see you tomorrow.